Hi everyone, I'm James Thompson. I'm head of digital for Gammon Construction. I've been with Gammon for about 2 years now. My background is actually in BIM, but primarily focused around helping clients maximize the value generation from BIM. Slightly different to a lot of what other people focus or think BIM is, but more around management consultancy. So what I wanted to do today was to talk about 8 digital lessons learned, essentially, which we've learned, and a lot of the pitfalls we've fallen down into. So hopefully this is a good introduction. But what I'll do just to make a bit of a start is give you an introduction to where we are at Gammon at the minute. Now, apologies, the audio isn't working for videos at the minute, but I'll try and speak over it. So one of our primary focuses is to not just focus on BIM, but also to connect in lots of enabling technologies. So whether that's 5G or whether it's data science or blockchain, we're building a lot of those technologies. And really this video identifies, it's the quickest way to show you a lot of or the majority of the technologies. So we're doing a lot of VR, a lot of mixed reality visualizations, and lots of construction sequencing, essentially. Seems like we've frozen. Cool. Okay, so hopefully that's still playing for everyone. Obviously, we're doing a lot of automation, which I'll touch on in a little bit later. We're doing lots of safety simulations. And really what we're trying to do is create a digital twin of the asset, but using the BIM model as that digital twin to create scenarios and predict analysis before we actually construct it. So this is one of our projects, which is Kai-Tak West. It's one of Hong Kong's largest open cut tunnels. And really a lot of the focus is on the off-site manufacture. So digitalization is a key part of that. But actually we're changing the method in which we do the construction itself. So lots of prefabrication, lots of DFMA, but really trying to improve the safety, improve the efficiency, and digital is really a precursor to a lot of this. So here you can see we're using robots for a lot of the manufacturing, a lot of the cutting and hot works. And this is for one of our projects in Chung Kwan O Science Park, which is called the Advanced Manufacturing Centre. So here you can see that even the floor planks are precast. And actually, we did a lot of predictive analysis using AI to predict what the best sequence was for a lot of those. And BIM again, so this is using Revit and a sort of a Dynamo interface with SolidWorks to effectively create fabrication information, which we'll touch on a little bit later. Platform DFMA is probably at the heart of our business, actually. So creating modules from families of information or from existing information that we can draw upon. So we're not starting from zero. Now, slightly different to the designers is what we have to do is we're changing from constructing things to assembling things. So what that means is we need catalogs of information, we need really good records, and we need a way to manage the delivery, the installation, the testing, commissioning. So we're adopting this kind of approach where we've got centralized data feeds. So that might be BIM, it might be the construction sequence, it might be production data, but really we're bringing all of that information to a single source so we can manage that information in the cloud, essentially. So you can see a lot of the production information we're bringing through to dashboards, and really that allows us to manage the process in a dynamic way. So here's quite a nice case study here. It's actually, I think at the time it was Hong Kong's largest installation, essentially, or heaviest thermal tank, but it was lifted in a single piece and barged essentially down the sea. So quite a big feat. and you can see it's fairly high up on the building. But we couldn't have done that without digital or DFMA and prefabrication. So obviously, a lot of digital technology enables you to do innovation to an extent. So this is one of our most innovative ideas, actually, which is on Kitech West. So this is actually a moving platform here. You can see it's radius, it's not straight. We couldn't do that obviously without 3D modeling. So that's how we use the data in that instance. And here we're using blockchain actually to. So this is on quite a few of our. It's actually on every single one of our projects, but the blockchain module is actually on the West Callian Cultural District projects. And what we're doing is effectively distributing the ledger for the risk TNC forms. And this is the new module for it, which is called Trade by Trade. So in Trade by Trade, what we do is when one trade is finished, it keeps an accurate record of that and then passes it on to the next trade and the next trade and the next trade. And all that information essentially can be accessed through what we call the IDPD portal, which essentially is a kind of our one-stop shop to data management really in Gammon. And at the heart of that is an integration with a common data environment, which we'll talk about a little bit as we move into the presentation. But really that's a broad overview of digital within Gammon. And what I'm going to do is just pick out 8 of the key lessons learned that hopefully people can take on board or ask questions. Feel free to ask me questions at the end. But that's just a broad introduction. So Gammon hasn't always been a completely it's taken a long time to get to where we are. But probably our first BIM project was in 2006, but it was mainly around One Island East, which was a bit of a flagship project. And I think the definition of BIM has changed significantly since 2006. So a lot of these projects here, although they're BIM, actually we mean 3D model and a sort of an integrated process. Now, BIM for us has changed significantly. But I think one of the things we need to take a step back and ask the question is, what is the value? And then ultimately, what have we got in the pipeline and what does the client actually need? So last year, we won a lot of projects, but these are the 3 headline ones. And it left us with quite a unique challenge. So in Gammon at the minute, we're 150 BIM staff. We're about more than 3,000 permanent staff, up to 11,000 employees at any one time. So winning this amount of work at one point is a challenge. So these 3 projects alone have about 50 terabytes of data. They need more than 150 BIM people on them. There's more than 1,000 BIM models across the 3 projects. That's going to produce more than 15,000 drawings. And not only that, we'll receive information in more than 125 different formats. So it poses quite an interesting challenge to us. And hopefully these lessons learned will make that a bit clearer. So I think let's start with a why. So why digital? So not why BIM, why digital? So normally they can be categorized into 2 camps. So number 1, our clients are asking for it in tenders, and number 2, our competition's doing it. So for us, everybody's videos look fairly similar. Everybody's doing a similar thing, but the way we're doing it might be different, or the reason why we're doing it might be different. The third one, marketing, raise the profile. It looks good. It might win us more work. And the final one is, I think everybody's heard this on the call, is we need BIM. So the government, the client, everybody's asking for BIM, but what is BIM? And these 2 camps are really the external push. And then the question on the flip side is, will these drive value? And I think if we go for these 4, it'll be quite difficult to generate the value. We lose focus of what the value is. So the first lesson learned for us is, what are we aiming for? So for us, we've got four key values that we go for, key areas that we go for. So we want to, we want to give our customers a good product at the end. We also want to keep up with the market. We don't only want to keep up, we want to surpass it and be the best. The third one, obviously, we want to win more work. And then the final one, which is we want to do more with less people, essentially. So they're our digital values, or they're our core targets, essentially. Now, COVID's obviously been interesting for everybody. But what it's meant actually is my second lesson to everyone is the cloud over on premise at every opportunity. The ability to access information anywhere on any device is absolutely fundamental now. And I think everybody on the call will agree with me. Without Zoom and Skype and Teams and SharePoint, BIM 360, a lot of the Revit collaboration function, like that functionality is super important for us to operate in this new normal. One of the big changes which we've done in terms of the cloud is actually trying to improve the accuracy or make people more confident in using the BIM model for data. And not only that, using information that comes from the BIM model for that data. And the way we do that is trying to reduce the amount of sharing. So as soon as a file is emailed, it's effectively uncontrolled. So at the core of our business actually now, I would say more than 1,000 licenses I know we use is on BIM 360 docs. And we use varying levels of sharing functions. So we might use Collaborate for Revit on some projects. Others we might use Revit Server, but essentially primarily we're using Collaborate for Revit. And what that's done is it's allowed us to control the information. So we're building that confidence in the cloud data. So we're not storing it on a C drive. Other people are working in that live environment, and that's really changed our processes. And really the target for that is on a study which we've done, more than 30% of an engineer's time is not only finding the information, it's finding the right piece of information. That's the key thing. So saving it on the cloud and controlling the transit of it, making sure people aren't emailing it around is probably one of the biggest efficiency boosters. The third one, or the third lesson, is around having the right tool for the right job. But it's not only that, it's having the right tool for the right job, but aligning the business processes with that tool. So if you're going to use Glue, or you're going to use BIM 360 Docs, or you're going to use even Collaborate for Revit or Navis, what is that tool doing, and which business function needs that? So a big change for us is engineers in Gammon use Navisworks, not just the BIM team. So that completely revolutionized the way that we do work. And then once you've aligned those processes, you can see it's a bit of a small image, but that's essentially our construction process. And we've aligned the tools to the different functions that we have. And thanks to Rob from Autodesk for sending through the new product portfolio for us. It shows which stage uses which product. So that's where we focused. So planning it right and using the right tool. And then finally, don't do digital for digital's sake. Just because it's a digital process doesn't mean it's the right one. So always come back to what value is it generating for the project. Can we do the same thing with 2 less people, or it might be a cost saving exercise, but what is the value? Are we improving the accuracy? Lesson 3, hopefully everybody's aware on the call, which is having a standard process. So for us, we're ISO 19650 accredited. So what that means is we have to work in a particular way. And the majority of our projects, I would say, follow this kind of workflow, essentially. So we've got an audit trail in the archive, and ultimately we're passing information through 3 layer states. So work in progress, shared and published. And within those layer states, we can make the information suitable for different parts, or suitable for different needs, essentially. Now, a lot of that information we use BIM 360 for, but actually the suitability status is a new thing for the business, but it's already demonstrated tremendous value. So really important. If you don't know about it, feel free to ask a question, but try to use that standard. It's pretty good. Hopefully the videos are working for people, but I think gone are the days when you've got a big problem and you need to throw a load of people at it. We're doing a lot of automation, a lot of API work, a lot of Python. People who were traditionally draftsmen or engineers are now picking up those digital skills. So being able to automate some of the processes. So here's a few headline ones from our, these are E&M related actually. So our E&M teams have done a great job using the Revit API. So for things like this, like the auto routing for pipe work, adding shared parameters automatically, automating exports between file formats, or even when a set of ventilation ducts are going through a wall, automating the opening and the setting out of those openings. It's pretty simple to do. But what it means is we haven't got a big team of people doing the doing. We're optimizing that process, and ultimately we can run it full time if we want to, and we can generate the 2D drawings if we need to. Which leads us on nicely to 2D or not 2D. And I think this is heavily driven by the clients in the room, but from a contractor's perspective, we can do a lot with a 3D model if we position the 3D model as the starting point for the project. So here you can see this is one of our projects in Singapore, where super complex geometry in Revit, using a lot of dynamo to control the geometry. Once we create that geometry, we can push that to fabrication, and ultimately we can pull 2D fabrication drawings or visualizations from it. But ultimately the end product is heavily controlled by that 3D information. And what we end up with is I would say probably the closest thing to an as-built record of the actual fabricated part. So for us, BIM isn't about creating drawings. For us, BIM is about fabricating, handing the data over at the end. And ultimately, if we need drawings, we cut those sections and plans as and where we need them, or provide the relatively statutory inputs that we need. So whether it's FSD or building department, we can submit those. So lesson 6 is all about the people. Now I'll pose this question back to the audience, which is, are information managers the next BIM managers? So the days when you spend a lot of time doing Revit modeling and things like that, I think are still relevant, but automation is quickly becoming a big part of modeling. So rather than setting out 25 columns, we can do that using Dynamo now. And a lot of those automation techniques are effectively optimizing that process. So what we're doing is we're reskilling a multidisciplinary team. So BIM teams get skills from other disciplines or functions within the business. And then ultimately vice versa, the other functions, whether it's engineers, QSs, planners, even site foremen get BIM and digital skills, so they can essentially understand or even create their own innovations if they want. But for us, this year is all about training, and it's all about multi-skilling. So information engineers are effectively a multi-skilled BIM manager or an information manager, multi-skilled BIM manager, or an engineer with BIM and digital skills, essentially. So that's a big push for our organization, and I'm sure other organizations out there. Lesson 7, I just wanted to relate this back to something simple. And I think Tesla have got quite a simple strategy. And it's exactly the same for us as a business. We're moving from constructing stuff in place to manufacturing things. And there's really some key elements that allow you to do that. And when you're writing your digital strategies or you're implementing them, I think these are kind of the key areas where it's worth spending a bit of time to understand what the best approach forward is. So the first one's connectivity. So it's great having all this data, but if it means that somebody's got to go back to an office and type it all up in Excel, it's not ideal. So, do you have Wi-Fi? Do you using 5G? Ask those questions and establish that strategy. The next one is, you can see here all the guys know exactly what they're doing. They're doing the same job essentially for each of the modules or each of the cars, and essentially they all work in unison. So rather than collaboration, it's co-creation. So I think that's really, really important. Everybody has to have that co-creative mindset. And really, I mean, Revit C4R is a great product to start with that co-creation. And then if you want to revert back to collaboration, obviously Navis and Glue and Docs are great platforms. But really, we're trying to drive the co-creation element of it. The momentum is really important. So a lot of the projects will really be controlled by submitting models every week or every couple of weeks. For us, I think now our focus is we don't want to be constrained by that. If we can push models live, let's do it. So we're driving the momentum there. So don't be restricted by what it says in the contract. If you can beat the frequency through using automation and digital tools, let's do it. And that's one of our big focuses. We've touched a little bit on the right tool for the right job. But really, I think the other side of it is having the tools available to do the job, starting there first. So if you're going to, you want to model some complex geometry and then it's going to change in the future, obviously don't spend a load of time modeling it in Revit. You probably want some kind of control in Dynamo. So I think starting with the right tool is a positive thing. So to bear that in mind. And ultimately, as BIM managers and other team leaders, have a common goal, and I think that's misunderstood a lot of time. But one of the things which we do is make the PXP available for all of the team, so they can understand what the contract requires. And then essentially our BIM managers are responsible for making sure that we have that common goal within the team. It's not only individual teams, it's one team in Gammon. So it doesn't matter whether you're BIM, QS, commercial, engineering, you're one team. And that common goal is super important. Leading us on to the lesson 8. We're collecting a lot of this data, and you can see from this chart there's a lot of different types of data. But there's a misconception in the industry that let's collect the data, great. What are we going to do with it? And that's quite an interesting concept, which is called DRIP, which is a manufacturing one, which is data rich, information poor. So for us, there's no point in collecting data if there isn't an action or a report which adds value to the business. So these are just some of the technologies which we have within the organization. And I'll give you an example which hopefully everyone can relate to, because it's not construction related. So it might be that you have a calendar invitation on your phone, and on that calendar invitation, it's, don't be late. You look where the meeting is. By that time, you're late because it's too far away. And that's what I would define as data-rich, information poor. But if you look at the latest version of iOS on Apple phones, it'll tell you, if you put the location in of where the meeting is, how long it takes to get there, and it'll adjust the calendar notification so you've got time to get there. So in that, I would say, is valuable information, because you haven't missed the meeting and it's driven an action that, I need to leave slightly early. So that's the difference, or the easiest way to think about data-rich, information poor, or valuable information. Now, it was originally 8 lessons, and I appreciate we're running close to time, but there's kind of a half lesson, and I think that's for everybody on the call, which is everybody needs to adopt this change mindset. And I think especially in Hong Kong, that is absolutely the most important thing that anybody can take away from this. There's no such thing as a career for life, I don't think, anymore. So being able to train and reskill in different areas is super important. But I think pushing the organization to change is everybody's duty. And with China and the Greater Bay Area just over the border, it's super important that we keep pushing and pushing and pushing, because the scale of the projects and the way they're moving, and they're unregulated in a lot of instances, they're moving very, very quickly. So I quite like the farmer quote on the right hand side where it's modernize or die. I think even if you look past at the past 5 years, how much things have changed, it's going to change probably 20 times faster or more. So bear that in mind, adopt that change mindset, and always keep learning, and try and hopefully these lessons learned have been useful for people. But I accept any questions now, and thanks everyone for listening to me.
Thank you so much, James. And it's the Q&A session now. And James is, of course, here to address your questions. So I've already got some questions here, James. An audience called Kat Liu should like to know, how long has Gammon been on their digital journey?
Okay, so I think for us, it's probably been, what we've struggled to do actually is we've been on our BIM journey probably for since 2006, but probably in real force for the past 6 or 7 years. But digital probably more so in the past 3 years or so. And I think that's more of an innovative type journey. But I think we're moving from BIM to more of digital construction. And I think that's where our focus is. It's, where do we get the value from digitalizing our projects, and BIM's a key function to that, actually.
Mm-hmm. Another question from Kenneth, who would like to know, what is an information manager?
Okay, that's a good question. So it's a multi-skilled person. So it's effectively somebody who controls the information flow of the project. So whether that's data or managing the common data environment, or even what BIM connects to. So if it's 3D, 4D, 5D, it's somebody who's that integrator of data, essentially, and somebody who creates the process and the standard of how the project's going to operate digitally, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And a final question for you. Jake would like to know. He said that my friend is an aspiring BIM engineer. Courses accredited by either CIC or HKIBIM are found in Hong Kong market. Are both qualified to work in Gammon in Hong Kong?
Of course, yeah. I think we encourage that training, and obviously CIC is a good partner with Gammon, and got a long-standing history with CIC and other institutes as well as CITAC. I think when you join Gammon, the most important thing is to be willing to learn and be willing to work as part of the team. And all of the accreditation and the affiliation, every day is a school day in Gammon, actually. So yeah, there's no pre-qualification to work in Gammon. But yeah, I think just the willingness to learn and obtaining those affiliations is still a priority for us. So yeah, we welcome any if there's anybody who wants to look at any vacancies at Gammon, we welcome that, and we want the best talent. So yes, please contact us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just got an instant question here. Carson would like to know, what's the plan of Gammon in BIM or digitalization? Any goals in 3 to 5 years?
Okay, so we have yes. So we've got something called the 25 by 25 2025, which is kind of our long-term vision, which looks at reducing the on-site labor intensity by 25% in certain areas by 2025. So the idea is that it's safer, more things are made in the factory, we can control the program, control the change. And a lot of that really is digital is a precursor to that. So if you're going to build something in the factory, you need to have the modules designed digitally before. You might need the fabrication drawings created, manage the logistics, all of that. So that's our target. Obviously, there's lots of different parts to that. But over the past 2 years, some of our projects have reached relatively high levels of modularization, over 70% in some instances. So I think if there's one thing, we're probably going to beat that target. Yeah, that's our vision really, is to do more and make it a safer workplace. Safe by design, really.
Awesome. So keep up the good work. Thank you so much, James, for your time. Thank you for
Thank you very
sharing.
much.